for the prayer. This evening, our kind and Heavenly Father, I come this evening thanking you for all that you've done in my life, thanking you all that you've done in my family's life, and thanking you for everything that you've done for Chester County and the citizens here. Lord, we ask that you continue to bless us. We ask that you continue to look over us, look over our families, keep us all safe. And Lord, continue to help us do your will. These and all other things, I ask in your Son, Jesus' name, I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Guy. All right. Moving to number 3 on the agenda, the approval of minutes of April the 1st, 2024. I'd like a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of April 1, 2024.
Second.
Second, got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving April the 1st, 2024 council meeting, raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous vote. Thank you. All right, under citizens' comments, number 4, we have one, Mr. Mac Flores.
Thank you, Chairman. Do I need to state my name and address? And,
Yeah,
is that
please.
information needed? Mac Flores, 4501 Garrow Street, Houston, Texas, 77011.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, Chairman. My name is Mac Flores. I'm here on behalf of our landowner, Mrs. Twilford, and also Ecoplexus, a renewable energy development company. We recently have had conversations with the county in regards to a development that we wanted to bring here to Chester County. In 2013, we came to an agreement. Since we understand things have changed, so we'd like to continue our discussions with the county. We understand that the county has made some decisions in terms of the way that they want to handle these developments here. We are aware of that, and we'd like to move forward with developing if we can. We want to be very transparent as possible. We will be hosting a community engagement meeting to address any concerns that the public may have. I'll also be reaching out individually with any adjacent landowners to meet with them individually to alleviate any concerns that they may have. I've got a meeting with Brian. I want to say it's in May the 8th. Callie was able to put that together for us, so we'll be meeting with Brian just to kind of go over what all is expected of us and how we can move forward with the county. Chairman, my landowner, Ms. Twilford, has asked if it is possible to get a meeting individually with members of council. If that's something that we can do, we would love to be able to. I don't know if we could do that through Brian or Callie, but we'll move forward with that way. But I don't want to take up too much more time. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. We do have a letter that we had mailed out to the county in January that kind of goes over the history of our project and the history of our kind of conversations with the county. So I'd like to leave that if anybody would like to read, and I'll leave that with Callie. Yes. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Flores. Moving right along to number 5 on the agenda was the public hearing, which we have none. And number 6, ordinance and resolution proclamations, we have none. So we're going to move to 7 and to our administrator's report.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got a little bit of catching up to do as I was not here for the last meeting. And then no particular order, I'm going to give some updates. I'll start with EMS 5 went into service April the 3rd at the North Chester Fire Station, which is our new station. Thank you all to all of you who came out for the grand opening. Initially, that's going to be in operation 3 days a week, and those 3 days of the week are based off of data that's been collected through our emergency services department. And I can tell you, I didn't write them down on this paper, but I think I've got, looks like it's going to be Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Now it'll be 12 hours a day from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Now, July 1, if council approves the current budget as it's in its more than rough draft, I would say, Mr. Darby, wouldn't you? We're getting close to a presentation, but if council approves it in the budget, that'll be 7 days a week at the North Chester Station 12 hours a day until the renovations are done to the West Chester Fire Station, where they're adding an additional bay that'll be a little bit more centrally located, where that'll be housed, looking at the schematics on that, as far as, time frame would probably be the next fiscal year, not this coming fiscal year, but the next one when it would be housed there. And that would be 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All things, proceeding and moving forward. We've asked the state for some funding for that West Chester renovation through through Mr. Ligon and our legislative delegation, and we've gotten some good feedback on that thus far. Our legal counsel, interviews for the position of general counsel. Those are going to take place for the week of April 29th. We have, I think right now, 4 applicants to interview. And so we'll be conducting those interviews that week. The Great Falls Fire Station, as far as the full-time fire that's going to start up there in the new fiscal year. And again, that is funded in our budget, along with monies that we received from the town of Great Falls. But so far, we've got 6 applicants for the position of captain, 10 for the position of firefighter, and they've all been contacted, scheduling interviews April 23rd through 25th. We're going ahead and conducting those interviews. When they make the selections for those positions, they'll be offered conditional offers of employment. We'll start work July 1 with the new fiscal year for those positions as well. We also held, most of this is in the emergency service world that I'm talking about now, but we had EMS supervisor and senior paramedic interviews. We had 10 candidates for the shift supervisor and the senior paramedic, and those interviews are going on actually this week as we speak. These have been some open positions that we've been, they've gotten up to staff, and now they're trying to fill those positions, which will help greatly with our overtime in EMS. And then we had a DHEC inspection on April 11th for us to be certified in EMS for what they call PEDS ready. And it's in conjunction with MUSC, and it's basically going to make us one of only a few services in the state to provide a higher level of service to pediatric patients. So that's a big deal as well. In addition to those, our planner, we talked in our workshop about a planner for the county. And so myself and Mr. Levester have been kind of working on some of the job description. We've been taking job descriptions. I read you guys some job descriptions. We're looking at some others, looking at how other counties are set up. And I've actually had one candidate that has reached out to us about the position. And again, remember, this is no addition to our budget. This will be paid out of our Economic Development Fund through a fee and lieu stream for that position. And so that position is progressing as well. I also have a meeting, it's either this week or the first of next week, with a firm that offers the same, it would basically be the difference between hiring an in-house or hiring a firm to represent us in that position. So I'm exploring all options and all costs and kind of weighing the benefits of all of those. But we are moving forward with that. Really quick, just an update on Rodman ball field. The drawings are with DHEC. They've been there for about 2 weeks now for review. Should be about 4 more weeks for DHEC's review. Then the final review of the plans on our end will take place. And then we should be going out for bid. They're saying mid-May to June that we will be out for bid. Well, they're saying mid-May, I say June, because the reality of some of these projects. We should have a final cost opinion prior to that going out for bid. The animal control facility, floor plans and building footprints have been, we'll call it 85% decided on. And right now they're trying to take that footprint and position it on the site. And so to determine where the least amount of site work, where it would best fit with regards to parking and everything else. And then we'll be looking for some initial cost estimates as soon as that's done to make sure that that is still within our budget regarding the design. And then the last thing that, just to update you on, and I think I mentioned this as well to council not too long ago, but we have set up training for all of our government managers and supervisors. We're doing an initial, during this budget year, we're doing a retreat for the managers, supervisors, leaders, and we're going to have a guest speaker. We're going to have some leadership training. We're going to have some team building at that retreat. And then the goal is, I'm looking at 3 different programs currently, but the goal is starting in July to have once a month for 6 months for all of our managers and supervisors, a mandatory leadership training. It's going to be put on by one of our local technical colleges. I'm looking at a couple of them right now, and they have a couple of different programs, and there's a certificate for that at the end of the program for all of our leadership as well. Council would be welcome to attend that. We don't pay on a per-person basis. We pay on a per-class basis. So if council were interested in attending those leadership trainings, might be beneficial for some of you if you so chose. With that, Mr. Chairman, that concludes my administrator's report.
I've got a couple of questions I'd like to ask, because this gentleman just brought up a point. The Supreme Court of the United States just overturned the case for developmental fees. And I'd like to make sure that Mr. Hester gets the county attorney to do that. They said developmental fees are not, this man wanted to build a house on his own property, and developmental fees were $23,000 to build a house on his own property. So at any rate, the Supreme Court overturned it. So there's another part of that about developmental fees for planned develops and things that I would like to get Mr. Hester to get the attorney to look at that case. The other thing before today, this gentleman just got up and talked about solar farms. The House of Representatives in the state of South Carolina last week passed a bill that prevents solar farms basically in South Carolina. That bill is now going before the Senate. And so I would like to get the county attorney to see where that is, because they're really restricting the solar farms in this state to like 125 acres or something like that. The interesting part of it is Merrill Smith is the Speaker of the House of Representatives. He's from Sumter County, and Sumter County has pretty much eliminated them. So I'd like to see where that is, if what we have agreed to is still good, if this bill passes, and it looks like today that it was going to pass. So I don't know, but those are 2 things that the county attorney needs to look at, if you would do that, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Sure will. Thank you.
I have another question. I heard you talking about the ambulance being 3 days a week at the new fire department. Question, did we ever sell, or what did we ever do with the ambulance that we had that was in Richburg that was going to be auctioned off? Is that ambulance still available? Did they get rid of that ambulance? Do we still have it? Do they still have it? I was just thinking if it's
I don't
is it
know.
possible to move that ambulance around?
Well, it's not so much an ambulance. We have, so regarding our apparatus, we have 5 ambulances right now. And then we've got an old Sprinter van as well. We've got 2 ambulances that have been ordered. One will be here this coming summer. The other is still 2 years out. Right now, if we order an ambulance, they're 3 years out. If I put the order in today, I've got to wait 3 years. And it's, there's a chassis issue and there's a building a box issue. So I don't know of one. Mr. Agee, do you know
I
anything
do
about one
remember-
that was getting auctioned off?
Yeah, we matched some money last year for an ambulance in Richburg. Richburg
Oh,
chief
that-
came here and
that's
talked about it.
correct.
And he was talking, and I raised the question.
You did.
Why are we getting rid of an ambulance when we need ambulances? I raised that question, and now
did.
we're in a situation where the new fire department and those citizens only have an ambulance for 3 days. So the reason why I raised that question was just for a situation like this.
Right.
Those people deserve an ambulance every day. If that ambulance is still available, why don't we use that one too to give the citizens in that area an ambulance
So I.
every day?
I don't have the answer as to what Richburg did with that ambulance. I don't remember the rest of the discussion on that.
Do you remember, Mr. Akins?
Are we talking about Richburg Fire Department?
Yes.
Or the ambulance in Richburg?
There was an ambulance in Richburg that I know the chief came up in front of us, and we can go back and look at the minutes, but he said that they were gonna get rid of the ambulance because they were getting a new ambulance. And I raised the question, why are you getting rid of something when we can use it in the county? I remember us talking about
All
that.
right, this is how that worked. The Richburg Fire Department, with their own tax money, went to Jefferson, South Carolina, and bought an ambulance. We had been leasing an ambulance from Lifeguard, which is the company that supplies the ambulances to run patients between Chester and Lancaster and all that. We had an opportunity to buy an ambulance that the Jefferson Rescue Squad had, and we went in and bought it, I can't remember, $13,000 that we paid out of our barbecue money, I think is how we bought that. At the end of the day, we got a federal grant to buy a brand-new ambulance for $250,000. The county matched 5%,
Something like that.
something like that.
Yeah.
So at any rate, we then turned around and sold the ambulance, and I don't remember exactly how much we got, and put that money back into buying equipment. And then we had some people actually donated money. We had to have a brush guard, we had to have a winch on the front of it, and that was another $6,000. So the money we got from the ambulance that was sold went back into that new ambulance because the cost of that new ambulance, as you just got through saying, had escalated.
So it was sold, so we did sell it.
You did,
Guys did
yes,
sell it,
yes.
okay. Now, my question was, if we still had it,
Well-
could we use it?
Mr. Guy, it's really not the part-time status out there has nothing to do with the apparatus, it's manpower. So without adding, if you think about it, technically, we need 4 additional personnel to run just the 12-hour shifts. So 2, if they work what we call the DuPont schedule, which is a typical 12-hour shift schedule, you need 2 for each day shift and each night shift. So if we were just doing that 12-hour day shift, we need 4 additional personnel. And so we figured out a way to build that into next year's budget using some of our current staffing as well. The floaters that were there, along with 4 new hires, would cover that for us. And so our goal is to kind of phase that in, because right now we can't afford during this current budget year to hire all the personnel needed to get it full-time right now.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Is there any further question for Mr. Hester on his report or concerning anything that he brought up? Hearing none, we'll move on to number 8 on the agenda, on the old business. Will be the second reading of CCMA 24-06. Michael R. Franklin requests tax map number 079-04-02-002-000 at 651 Lancaster Highway, Chester, South Carolina, 29706, to be rezoned from single-family residential district RS1 to limited commercial district LC. The Planning Commission voted 5-0 to approve. Need a motion.
I make a motion we approve I make a motion we uphold the Planning Commission's vote on CCMA 24-06.
Okay, need a second? Second. Second. Any discussion or comments? Hearing none, all in favor of approving, this is the second reading for CCMA 24-06, raise your right hand and say aye. Aye. Unanimous vote. Okay, moving on to B, under number 8, Chester County prioritize community needs. Mr. Hester, have you said something on that?
The only thing, this is what Ms. Grazier Ray, when she was here, that she went over, each of you have it in your packet, and it's the 2024 prioritized community needs. Pretty much follows the same discussion that Ms. Grazier Ray gave to all the council members and outlined. She took the feedback from that meeting and went back in. If you look, really the highlighted issues, if each of you have a highlighted copy, were just a few changes. You would just be voting to approve that.
Okay, does any other council have any questions about that? Hear none. I guess we'll just accept that, vote on it to accept the needs as presented, is that correct?
I think there's no need for a vote on that, I'm sorry. As long as there's no questions on what those prioritized community needs are and they're accepted.
All right,
She said it does have to be voted on? Okay. Then council, if they'll vote, if there'll be a vote to accept or deny these community needs, we'll just take that as acceptance.
Is this a living document?
It is, I mean, basically, because from year to year, whatever's not completed would roll, where we would determine if it still needs to be on there as a community need. If there are some things that are taken off, I think your bullet points under number 2, there were probably 8 of those as opposed to the 4 that are there now. A few things have been added, so it is a living document, just gets voted on annually.
all right. No further discussion, all in favor of,
I think we need a motion.
huh?
We need a motion.
What?
We,
Okay,
yeah,
we have-
I'll make the motion that we approve the prioritized community needs as presented.
Okay, need a second?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion on the prioritized community needs? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous vote, thank you. All right, under C, under number 8, the follow-up discussion regarding council members' attendance at meetings. Mr. Hester.
Well, I noticed that while I was out sick, council tagged me to give a recommendation on this issue. While I really didn't, I'll be honest, I didn't watch the council meeting that night, I was too sick. I did go back and watch it, and watch the discussion. And so it seems that council left that for me to weigh in on, and so I'm going to do just that, whether you all agree or disagree, I'll give you my recommendation. And my recommendation is that we do absolutely nothing with that. And I'm going to explain that. My recommendation is that we have rules in place. There's FOIA rules, there's ethics rules, and those rules are already in place. I think we overreach ourselves and create a bureaucracy if we add more rules to council regarding those meetings. Now, let me follow that up with, I think that there's going to be times when the chairperson, whether that's you, Mr. Branham, or the person that takes over next, or any time in the future, that they're going to have to say, we need a special called meeting. I think that there'll be times, but I think we do that on a case-by-case basis. I think that, you know, we've only had, really there was one meeting that kind of brought this to question. And I think that if you really take a look at that meeting, there's probably more council members that wanted to attend that meeting. That meeting wasn't called by council members. That was an invited meeting from one of our delegation members, or some of our delegation members. And it was regarding CWR. And the 3 council members that did go to that meeting didn't participate in discussions of, you know, what their opinions, or it was really an informative session by the people that were putting on the meeting, and a fact-gathering session. And really it was more for me to gather facts, and the council members that were there were more just listening and taking part. it did leave a little bit of lack of clarity. The members that were there got really good information, and then everybody else kind of got secondhand, whether through phone calls or through executive session on some of the discussions. So I think that with regard to that, we have one instance that sort of raised that question. The school board meeting came up, and some more people wanted to go to that. Again, that was one of those invite meetings, really just an information session on the school district as to what their goal is with their referendum and so forth. And I think that what we have to do is, or I say we, you as council, if you attend meetings and you attend in that non-quorum capacity with 3 members or less at those meetings, then I think it's what we should start doing is the important stuff. We should make an agenda item. We should make that should be simply a call to me or a call to Christie to put that item up for just like we did this topic, and we put it on the agenda for discussion. You as a council member can ask me to kind of get some facts together and get it outlined, or you as a council member can simply make a presentation based off of that meeting. And I think that's probably the best way for council to, because I don't think there's anything in those meetings that, you know, if it did fall under executive session rules, that's fine, but the majority of those meetings we can talk about in open session, and you can get your viewpoint as a council person out, and you can instruct me to kind of fact find or find other information for you if need be, to present the council to give a whole perspective. So I think my recommendation really is that we stay just like we are, and we just be considerate of those meetings that take place in communication with each other and making sure that we get that message out. If it's something I need to put in the administrator's report, however we need to do it. But I think that we will overcomplicate ourselves, and I think that we'll overreach a little bit. And then the back conversation of that is, even if you put rules in place, how do you enforce those rules? And what's the real penalty that, you know, if somebody violated one of those? If you violate FOIA, well, you got a problem. So, and if you violate the ethics laws, well, you got a problem. So I think that we have procedures in place. And so that's my recommendation as we continue on, just with a little more, being more conscientious.
I thought Mr. Wilson had
Any questions for Mr. Hester on the issue?
I thought Mr. Wilson had a real good conversation in the last meeting where we said we'd have a meeting. In other words, everybody would participate if we had a special call meeting where everybody could participate. Because the people that went to the school board meeting, I don't have an issue with that. But Mr. Vaughn has the school in Great Falls, and I have the schools in Louisville, and we didn't participate in that. Not that the people that went didn't even listen, but I think a meeting of the whole council when something like that happens is the correct way to do this.
Any further comments?
I think that, and I used the CWR meeting as an example of what I'm about to say. I didn't attend that meeting. I had some health issues going on, but the information that I was seeking after the meeting, I got the information. It wasn't that difficult. Mr. Hester and I sat down for, 30 minutes? Mm-hmm. And I got all the answers to all the questions I had. I think when we discussed having special call meetings, that's not really a change from what we've done in the past. If we decide that we want to have a special call meeting, we do that. That's not a change, and I kind of agree with you about avoiding drastic changes, or changes, period. Mr. Wilson, what, you got any comment?
No, I mean, I'm with you on that, and I definitely agree with you about the enforcement as well. There really is any mechanism to do that. You know, if there's an issue that's controversial, and you know we all have strong opinions about it, let's just call a workshop. Let's call a special call meeting, and that's just an agreement. You know, just.
And you know, Mr. Wilson, and I think this was a little bit of a learning lesson for us. And I think hindsight after that meeting with CWR, a workshop, even if it was a 1-hour workshop, might have been beneficial.
I think we got two issues here, the way I look at it. We got an issue of where we're invited to a meeting, and then we got an issue where we need to discuss a situation that further, which we can call a special call meeting. That's the two issues I see, and the rules a little bit different on both of them. So that would be my comment. So, and I think what you stated is that we have rules and ordinance and stuff to go by about how we attend meetings and this once and other things, dear Lord, dear, that we go by those, and I think they're sufficient at this time. So do we want to accept Mr. Hester's report, recommendations on the follow-up meetings? We need a vote just to accept his recommendations.
I don't think there's a vote. I think unless,
You want to just accept?
Mr. Chairman, unless council
Just accept
wants me to
recommendation?
take a different approach, then we can consider it a moot point.
Okay, we'll just see his information on it then.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to new business on the number 9 on the agenda. Fiscal year 2023 financial statement audit report, which is on our iPads here, is 16 through 27. Call up Mr. Darby, Treasurer, and Mr. Mark Wood, of Auditor Shaheen Hancock and Goldman LLP. They'll come forward.
Good evening. So I just wanted to introduce Mark. Mark Wood is with Shaheen Hancock and Godwin. He's, I guess, a managing partner with them. I just want to thank him for their hard work, their thoroughness, their professionalism over the past few months, and also thank my staff. I don't think a lot of people realize how much time goes into an audit, a lot of preparation. So I just want to thank them as well. But I'll just turn it over to Mark and let him present the audit to council.
Be good.
Thank you, Mr. Darby. Mr. Chairman, members of council, it's a pleasure to be here tonight to discuss your 6/30/23 audit. Hard to believe we're almost done with another fiscal year, but anyway. You should have it's called an executive audit summary. It should be a one-page document. It's probably attached to a letter. It would be titled Communication with County Council at the Conclusion of the Financial Audit. And it would actually be page number 1 in that document. That's what we're going to go through.
It's on our iPad too. Page 18.
Right here.
It should be a loose letter.
Is it the same one on the iPad? Yeah.
Your hard copy should be a loose document, and then on the iPad it should be at the end of.
The front of the
Yeah, I got it.
the letter would say communication with county council.
Yeah, I got it.
So if you'll turn to page 1, that's what we'll go through. I think this will be a little bit easier than trying to flip through pages in the audit report. And I'll reference I'll reference the page numbers in your audit report of where this information is coming from. So if you want to flip through there, look at it later on to see how those numbers come together, you're more than welcome to do that. Just to start off, the county received an unmodified opinion, which is the highest opinion we can give on a set of financial statements. So that's always a great thing. That means you got a clean opinion, no issues, no nothing. So very clean opinion. Congratulations for that. Number 1 just kind of gives you an outline of the audit report. It's made up of management discussion and analysis, and this is kind of just an overview of how the county did. It talks about your balance sheet, your income statement, talks about fixed assets, talks about the debt. Then you get into your basic financial statements, and the first 2 pages are what is the government-wide financial statements. And what that means is those 2 statements is a balance sheet and an income statement. It recognizes all the assets and liabilities of the county. So not only does it include your cash receivables, it includes all the fixed assets of the county and all the debt. So your OPEB liability, your pension liability, all your bonds, notes that you would have, all that's recognized on those first 2 pages. Then after that, those are your fund statements. So it gets into your general fund, your special revenue funds, and then it gets into your proprietary funds. The notes is the next section, starting on page 24, and those give a more detail of some of the numbers in the financial statements. Then you've got supplementary information. That's where your budgetary comparison schedule's at about the general fund, and it gives details on some of the special revenue and debt service funds. And then the last section in all the report is the compliance, and that has 2 letters in the back. One is an internal control letter, and what that's going to tell you is, did we have any issues with internal controls? No, we did not. So there are no findings in this audit report. The second letter is a compliance letter over federal awards. And what that letter is going to tell you is that the county spent the federal money in accordance with all compliance requirements. So had no compliance issues with any of the federal funding that the county received as of 6/30/23, okay? For 2, 3, and 4, I'm going to run through the general fund, and then we'll come back to the proprietary fund, if that's okay. So on the general fund, this would be found on page 13 of your audit report. Your total assets are $33.8 million. Your total liabilities and deferred inflows is 14.5, so your fund balance as of 6/30/23 was $19.8 million. And that's pretty much all unrestricted fund balance, okay? Your total revenues were $30.6 million. Your operating expenditures were $25.7, and you had some transfers and other financing sources. So your positive change in fund balance for 6/30/23 was about $4.6 million. That's found on page 15 of the audit report. Proprietary funds, so this is your gateway and your landfill, and I've just combined the numbers so it's a total, but if you want to see the breakdown of each fund, that's on page 17. $3.3 million for total assets, $2.2 million for total liabilities and deferred inflows. So your equity, your net position is how they term it. $800,000 is your investment in capital assets. So your unrestricted is a little over almost $225,000. For your income statement, this will be on page 18. Total revenues were almost 1.8. Operating expenses were 1.9, and you had some transfers and other sources of 87 that brought, so your overall negative change in net position was almost $50,000. The gateway actually had a positive change in net position of $113,000. The landfill had a negative of about $163,000. So once again, that's on page 18, so you can see how those numbers are derived. Number 5, this is your budget for the general fund. This would be on page 73 through 77, so you could look and see what revenue and what expenditure categories make up these amounts. But your revenues exceeded budget by a little over $2 million. Expenditures were under budget by 2.6, and your transfers and other financing sources were under budget by about 23,000. Like I said, no findings. This is a very good report. It shows that the county has a very healthy fund balance, very well run. I'd like to thank your treasurer, Tommy Darby, and all his staff. When he said you don't really know what goes in it, we were up here for probably 2.5 weeks. And we put these guys through the ringer. This was our first year doing this audit, so we had a lot of first year stuff that we have to do and a lot of questions that we had to go through. And your staff here, what you need to know is you've got A-class staff, and they were very helpful. They got us all the information we needed on a timely basis so we could try to get our work done so we could get this report issued as quickly as possible. You know, we didn't get up here until December, and, you know, we tried to get this report out as soon as we could to meet state guidelines, so no funding was withheld from the county, and we were able to do that. And I'd just like to thank him and his staff and all the finance staff. They really made our job a lot easier, and we're going to try to get some prelim work done earlier this year, so we're not running at the last minute trying to get the report. But it was certainly a pleasure. As I said, this was our first year, and it was a pleasure to work with the county, and we look forward to our continued relationship. With that, I'll open it up if anybody's got any questions.
I don't have a question. I'd like to make a statement. I guess this is Mr. Darby's report card, isn't it?
I would say it's a pretty good one.
Yeah, we're gonna give him and Mr. Hester too, I think, that helped him on that. So I'd like to thank Mr. Darby for getting an A+ on his report card and your help there. So, that makes Chester County look good, and we thank you for doing that.
Just like to add, that's a countywide report card, because I'm just one piece of the puzzle, so just kudos to the staff countywide, because everybody is part of that. You know, when he talks about internal controls, that's just not finance, it's everybody countywide and how operations are run, so kudos to the county as a whole.
Thank you. Does any councilman have any questions for Mr. Darby or the auditor?
I'll just echo your comments about Mr. Darby and also his comments about our staff. Chester County is blessed to have the people we have all the way from top to bottom.
All righty.
Mr. Wood, we got you on the books already for next year, right?
I believe we do.
Okay.
All right, here, and thank you, sir, for the report, and thank you for your hard work in bringing this all together for us. Do we need to just accept this or information?
This is really just for information for you guys, and if you had any questions, and we wanted to make it public, so there really doesn't need to be a vote on this.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. If you don't have any further questions on that, we'll move along to B, under Lutz Foundation Max Grant for Community Altars. Ms. Jessica Roof, Animal Control Director.
Good afternoon again, Chairman and members of council. Before I start with the grant match, I just wanted to update you guys with our new hires. The 2 part-time positions that you granted us, we have filled. We have also filled an officer position, so all we are left to hire is our supervisor, which is really progressing for us. I'm here tonight to ask for a grant. I don't want to call it a grant match, but some grant funding. We were awarded $11,000 from the Lutz Foundation for community altar programs. That's TNR, your local, your community cats, dogs. It's a little bit of everything. It helps them get it at a low cost. We have kind of run out of that $11,000. We're down. We need about $5,000 more to get us through to the end of the physical year. Last year we asked for an equal match, and you guys were able to do that for us. So this year we're just asking for 5 to progress us to the end of the year.
So we don't need to approve, we need to just approve that, for the Lutz Foundation to give you that, and the match is.
We're asking the county for a $5,000 match.
$5,000.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I was thinking that, but, thank you for redirecting that. Does, any of the council people have a question for Ms. Ruth before we vote on?
I don't have any questions. I got a comment of, this is important.
Shouldn't we make a motion to accept that match and then the discussion after that?
All right.
I move the council approve the $5,000 match for animal control.
We need a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Wilson. All right, okay, second, Mr. Wilson. Now, okay, Mr.
My comment is about the program itself. This is huge for Chester County to have a good animal spay and neuter program. We've been behind for a while. It's time for us to catch up. This is a big step.
I have some fun statistics I can share with you. On the mobile van, we've been able to do 41 cats, 3 community dogs, and 20 shelter animals. That's just in 3 days. And then for the Healthy Pets, which is totally funded by the Lutz grant and the match, we've been there 6 days, and we've already been able to do 71 animals with this grant right here. So,
I think the important thing is for the citizens of Chester County to get their animals spayed and neutered. Don't let them run around making more cats and dogs.
yes, sir. We have a van. The van's coming back on April the 26th from 12 to 7. We've put it to a little more afternoon hours to kind of, work around work hours and things like that. And they come and they offer low-cost rabies as well as your basic vaccines, flea and tick medicine, heartworm, and all. So they'll be there again on the 26th.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor of, since we got a motion and a second to match the $5,000 grant to receive the Lutz Foundation, raise your right hand and say aye.
All right.
Aye, unanimous vote.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, moving along to C under number 9 on the new business, the assessor's office update, Mr. Rick Anderson, our assessor.
Well, Chairman Brandon and members of the council, my name's Rick Anderson. I've served as Chester County's assessor since October of 2020, and I appreciate this opportunity to come talk to you and kind of give you a quick summary of what our office does and the items that we have on our agenda for the coming year. The duties of the assessor's office are fairly simple. We have 3 functions. We appraise all the property in Chester with the exception of property that's assessed by the Department of Revenue as a manufacturing property or property that's in a fee in lieu. So we've got about 25,000 properties that we're required to appraise or assess in the county. Besides valuing property, we process legal residence applications, and we also process applications for agricultural use. Those are the main functions. We also maintain the public records, so our office is responsible for updating the GIS mapping system that's used by multiple organizations. That's becoming an important function in Chester County. We work with 911, EMA, building and zoning, all the other internal users that rely on GIS mapping for updating property records, updating response, and election districts and everything are now incorporated in that. So to that end, we just had a new flight completed in February of this year. The whole county was flown, so we have updated imagery, which within the next probably 30 days will go out, be updated on the Beacon or the public website. Also, EMA will update their imagery that they use for response. But that's an important update that we just got finished. Our office is currently working on the 2024 assessment. Anytime a property changes in value by $1,000 or more, we're required to send a notice to the property owner so that they're aware that their property assessment will change this year. Our target date's July 1. We're well on the way to get that done with all the growth, the new subdivisions and changes. There's a lot of sales of property. There's a lot of property that we have to reappraise every year. And of course, the big activity for us is the 5-year reassessment. We're scheduled to implement do a countywide reassessment for the 2025 tax year. So we're on track to try to get that done on time. In the last 20 years, Chester County has not implemented on time. They've delayed 1 year or 2 years over the last 4 reassessment cycles, and we feel like it's critical to try to get the reassessment done on time just because to capture the value changes, but more importantly is part of it is to try to make the assessment more equitable across the range of property types. And one of the things I think is very important to let people know is the function of our office. We don't collect taxes. We value the property. We set the assessment on the property. But our job is to try to be fair and equitable to all properties in Chester. You've got a lot of different types, a lot of different values, but we're trying to follow the rules and make sure that everybody's assessed accurately and fairly. And what we do affects everybody in Chester County. There's 25,000 parcels of land, and everybody that resides in Chester is affected by what our office does, and we take that very very seriously. We're working very hard to try to be, equitable in our assessment for properties. And with that, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them, but that's a quick review of what our office does and what we've got on our agenda for this year and the coming year.
I got a question just for my ignorance, and I just wanted to know, I always wanted an answer to this question. Let's say, for instance, there's a piece of property out in the rural area, and the property owner decides to add on to their home and they don't get a permit, and no one knows about it, and they've added 1,000 square feet onto their home. Does this flyover account, can it tell if a person added on to their home so that their property could be reassessed so that the county could get the money that they're supposed to receive for the?
One of the things that we incorporated in this flyover is we've got the new imagery for 2024, and we can look at 2021 or what's existing, and we do what's called a change finder. So in that case, we look at the house in 2021, it's got a certain footprint. And when we look in 2024 and we go, well, hey, this footprint's changed, it'll highlight that on the map, so we can go in and say, we've got to go look at this. So we identify a lot of parcels. Mobile homes move in and out of the county. Sometimes they get moved in and we don't. So we do use technology, and we also get out and look. We do look at building permits. And, sometimes neighbors will say, hey, my neighbor down here's added on or added something. So we've got a variety of ways, but we do get out and try to pick up things like that. We do use technology to assist us.
So the second part of my question is, Mr. Hester may can get in on this one, or either our planning and zoning. When you do run into a situation like that, and a person in an area, I know Laurie's is a little different, but in other parts of our county, if that happened and a person added on to their house and the county wasn't notified of that addition, is there any penalty to that?
Sure, and there are, if they didn't pull a permit, then, obviously, then they have to pay for that permit. There's penalties associated with that permit. It has to be inspected. I mean, they could have to tear something down if they did it illegally, and if it doesn't meet the IBC code. Obviously, we have to go through legal means to make some of that happen unless they cooperate and comply. I don't know of an instance since I've been here that we ran into where somebody didn't comply with what Mr. Levester had set forth. But usually if we find something that goes back to that route first, or either, one of his appraisers goes out to the site. I'll give you an example. So you all know where I live, and I bought and added on to that home. And so I pulled permits like I'm supposed to. And, right, Mr. Levester? And so they saw the permit. And then, so what they ended up doing was contacting me to come out, and they actually measured everything, took photos of that. And then, fortunately for me, my taxes are more. And so, that's just the way the process works. But if people don't follow the rules and we catch it, then there are repercussions. And the end-all legal means is our general counsel. And I think that I don't think most people want to go that route because, a judge is not going to rule in their favor if they didn't go through the process.
Yeah, the other thing we can do is go back and get back years. So if we look at something, say that house was built 2 or 3 years ago, we can go back and bill them or assess the property for the prior years, and then the bill gets sent to the auditor's office for billing for back years if they've done that. And if it's egregious, we've done that on several cases.
Okay.
And I think it's important for council and the public to understand when these things arise or these problems arise, our goal is to work with the community and the citizens of Chester County to get it right for their safety, for all the reasons that we have these processes in place. But our goal is to work with people, and a lot of times we sit down and we talk, how can we get to a solution for this? I mean, it's not, it's not the fist and the hammer coming down. We try to work with people and help them to get to the right resolution to where it is accounted for. And we have some leeway in making all that happen as well.
Yeah, I just always wondered how how do we do that, you know?
Well, and it's a challenge. We've got two residential appraisers. I do all the commercial and I do some of the land. But, it's a lot of territory to cover with two people. So we, like I said, we try to use technology, try to be efficient, but it's hard to cover everything.
So that flower was gonna catch me if I add on.
We'll get some. Come by, I'll show you some pictures of what we have.
I have two questions.
Yes, sir.
You go out and blah, 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 and do whatever. And you're in District 1, that's my district, Mr. Guy, whatever the case may be. You go out and you assess somebody's property and you decide, blah, 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 that they're not meeting the rules. I would assume that would go to Mr. Hester because you work for him. But that never comes back to me until Billy Bob calls me up and gets on my honey because of what you did. And what you didn't do to notify me that you came into the district that I represent and made a decision on a taxpayer that voted for me. I think we need to have a process. I'm not asking you that I need to know everything, but when I get through getting my behind chewed out, I don't have any recourse to come to you except go through him. And if you made a mistake, that even makes it even worse. The second question is, this has been the day of news. Chester County, how does your job interrelate with the school district?
Well, we appraise the property. We, determine whether a person qualifies for legal residence, whatever, and that sets what the value and the assessment ratio times the millage is what sets the taxes. So we set those values. The school district applies whatever their millage is, and that generates their tax bill. The school district doesn't have a say over our appraisal or whether we grant legal residence or agricultural, so they don't really have a direct input into anything that my office does. But they're, I guess downstream, they're a beneficiary of the changes in value in Chester County because it raises their revenue just like it raises county revenue.
So the assessment value is the same for the county and the school district?
Yes, sir.
So
Yeah.
the
Yeah, so
county last year made a decision not to increase taxes. The school district made a decision to increase taxes by 8.7%. So their assessed value.
The value's not going to change. If you got a $100,000
I mean,
house and it's
the
assessed
assessed value is the same, but
Their revenue.
the county school district increased taxes by 8.7% on a house, a $100,000 house that, Tommy, y'all didn't increase the taxes on in the county. Does that make sense? Something's.
Well, in a tax bill, you've got the county portion, you've got the school portion. If you're in a municipality, you've got the portion that the municipality charges, and then, fire districts, some fire districts have a millage rate. So each one of those entities derives their revenue from the valuation, the assessment ratio, and they can set their, rates as allowed. A school district has, I guess, taxing authority. They can set their millage independent of what the county wants to do. So that's the same thing with the municipalities. Richburg, Great Falls, the city of Chester can all set their, but they all use the values and the assessment ratios that are set in my office.
Well, Richburg doesn't have any taxes.
Okay,
so.
okay.
I guess the question I'm coming to, I was in a meeting the other night. Chester School District's getting ready to wants a vote on a bond of $260 million, am I right?
I don't think they've had the meeting to validate the number, but there will be a referendum.
The Lancaster School District is getting ready to have a bond for $540 million. So the last time I went to school, that's $800 million. And then Fort Mill increased their taxes for a school to $200 million. So that's $1 billion in taxes that are going to be collected out of Chester County, Lancaster County, and York County for construction of schools. Not 1 cent for students. Not 1 cent. All that is for construction. So what I'm trying to get, not you, I'm not picking on you by any stretch of the imagination.
That's all downstream of
All I
mine.
want to do is understand how they have an unlimited ability to raise taxes up to the CPI, right?
Which is the CPI plus the county growth.
Right.
So in Chester, that number's not significant, but I think last year the CPI was at 8.75 that they were allowed to, the maximum that they were
It
allowed to.
seems like there's some disproportionate, we as county council people are sitting here trying to not raise taxes, and they raised it, put $13 million in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a problem somewhere.
Yeah. Well, when those comments come to my office, I say, if you've got an issue with the value of your property, if you've got an issue with your legal residence, if you've got an issue with ag use, you're talking to the right person. If you don't like your taxes, call the county, call the school district, call whoever, because we don't set taxes in my office.
I'm not opposed to schools.
No, I am.
For the
I'm not
sake of
either.
argument, I'm opposed to the finances that are going on.
Mr. Anderson, so do you know offhand how many citizens swapped counties during the recent county survey?
Pardon me, say that again?
How many citizens, how many households swapped counties between us and York County when they resurveyed the York County, Chester County line?
There was a fair amount of just acreage, but I think the total that the house moves, the dwelling moved was, I think it was 7. I could double check, but I think it was like 4 moved to York County and 3 moved to Chester County. It wasn't a significant number. And we're actually, I'm trying to get the state to allow a delay, but we have had a meeting to talk about reconciling the Fairfield County boundary. And again, they would like to do it sooner rather than later. And I said with the reassessment next year, it'd be my preference to push it out to 26 or 27.
So I believe I heard that those citizens who were living in York County, who now live in Chester County, that their values of their property would have gone down just a bit?
Well, we used, on the properties that there was a structure house, we just used the York County's value, or York County used our value. And the reason is that there's not a trigger. Statutorily, there's some triggers that allow us to reappraise a property, but just changing the county of residence wasn't a trigger that allowed us or caused a reappraisal at that point. So moving back and forth, the actual appraised value of the property should not have changed, but there is a difference in the millage rate between Chester and York County, so there would have seen a change in their tax bill as a result of the change in the millage rate. Does that answer your question?
I think so. Have you had much pushback from any of those citizens? Have they been in your office upset, or not too
Not
bad?
so much. And there's just been some confusion about the addressing. I think we had one person, their mailbox sat in York County, and they had a half-mile-long driveway, and the house actually sat in Chester County. So it's just a headache to try to get your mail delivered because So, but some of these are just, kind of odd issues that come up, but not really. We get a lot of people come in, but again, it's an education. We can't change things, but we can explain to people why it is the way it is. And most people, once you explain it and they understand, they go, well, it may not be the answer I wanted, but I understand why.
We did have a few road issues, as you know,
Yeah.
from that, and we did get those rectified. But, it was just an addition to our county roads.
We gained roads, right?
We gained roads, that's correct. We gained roads. And just to follow up with Mr. Agee's first initial question and comment about kind of our process. So, Mr. Anderson and I kind of have an unwritten rule that if someone's super contentious with him, he has people that are unhappy all the time, that he has to tell their properties. People, not everyone accepts that as freely. But generally, Mr. Agee, what the process for that is he will give me a heads up if he thinks someone is going to call a council member. And we know that that's typically a citizen's first go-to. They don't generally call me in those situations, they call you guys. And so, depending on the situation, or if they ask to talk to me, I will give you a heads up. There have been some that they get to you before he gets to me, or the paperwork makes it around that way. And I just urge you that when those times do come, to call me. I will look, as always, I will look into them. I go directly to Mr. Anderson, and I can tell you that when it comes to fairness, Mr. Anderson typically probably errs more on the side of fairness in those situations than my previous law enforcement experience would lend me to, if you read between those lines. And so he's very fair. And I've not had a situation yet where he's done something that I've come back and changed. And typically what happens is a neighbor, someone's mad at somebody and they call him, and it triggers whatever he does with that reassessment. Most people know when they file permits and things like that. It's the ones who have gotten away with something, or either they did something back years ago where it doesn't qualify anymore and somebody told on them. And that's kind of what triggers. But
Not
we'll,
in Chester County.
no, we'll do our best to let you guys know, but I just urge you, if you have that situation, you can feel free to reach out to Mr. Anderson yourself and cut the middleman out if you so choose to ask about a situation. That's okay as well.
I don't have a good number off the top of my head, how many reassessments we've got for this year, but I would say it's probably close to 4,000. So
That's right.
keeping everybody appraised of every person that comes in, we have to reappraise their properties would be a challenge.
I think reassessment is something we're gonna have to deal with, no matter what. We ran for this office, and it's one of those things we have to deal with. I'm interested in the flyovers, though. Is this the first time we've done this?
Oh, no.
How long have we been doing it?
We did it in 2021. And I
Okay.
think, there's other flyers. If you look on the Beacon website, there's different links. I think it goes back to 2014. So there's a number. We try to do it once before reassessment, just because it gives us a good way to look at property. It cuts down on, field work, because we
Yeah.
can look and do a lot of work just looking
I
at the aerial
wonder-
photos.
How well the public, or is the public well informed about the flyovers? Is that something that we've publicized repeatedly? Because I think if people knew that we flew over to catch things, that they might use that in their decision-making process if they're gonna try to skip a building permit.
Yeah, I'd say the flyovers, catching people is incidental. I mean, we do the flyovers, one, because EMA uses it, 911 and the emergency first responders use it. I know one of the things that came up with the Whitewater Park is how do we find access, so having updated imagery, and we've worked to collaborate with Lancaster County so that it would be better imagery down there. So there's a lot of uses for the aerial photos, the flyover. It's the base layer on a lot of different things that we use. So, we can do a lot of the appraisal work. You can actually measure properties and see changes, and then identify things that we need to go out and look, just for, our purposes. They probably got a permit. I don't think it's a tremendous number of properties that people build. Again, someone adds onto their house, some people may not even know they have to have a permit. But, and again, the scope of the work is various. But I would say that the flying up, to catch people doing, construction without permits, not the purpose of the flyover. It's more just to have a good updated visual image of what's going on in the county. It's used in planning. Economic development uses it to share with prospects that come in. We get requests from highway departments and other entities that need imagery and the tax parcel mapping. So it's all, the GIS mapping and the ability to, geoposition properties is an important function of the mapping. And I say that's probably the predominant use of it, rather than trying to catch people that don't get permits.
I've not looked myself, but I wonder how much we have on our website that tells the public about flyovers,
We can put it
all the
below.
technology.
Yeah.
Do we have information out there for them?
We can put a note on there and just say, hey, to direct people, there's a new, to direct people and say there's a 2024 imagery update or something like that once it goes live, and let them see. But you can look at the different layers yourself on the Beacon website. We have some internal sites that we use at the.
Most
different
people
partners
have no
use.
clue Beacon even exists, I don't think.
Yeah.
I hate to keep talking about it, but how do you, so if the flyovers are not the
the purpose of catching people. How do you catch people? What is the method to, because there has to be a significant amount of tax money that the county would lose if a person originally had a piece of property that was 1,600 square feet, and then they added on and made it 2,500 square feet. If I'm gonna pull a permit because I have to, and I'm gonna pay the increased taxes, I feel like the next person should have to pay them
Sure.
also.
Sure.
So if that person does that, and then they eventually sell their house, and it was 1,600, and now it's 2,500, they're gonna make a significant
Sure.
amount of profit for adding on. The county gets, they don't get anything for that. So how is that policed?
Well, we do, you know, we have two people, and we're out in the field as often as we can. You know, it's a lot of county to cover. When you're out looking, if I come to look at your house, I'll probably look at the other homes in the neighborhood, which you can see from the street. You know, we can't just wander on people's property without a reason. We do look at, when a property sells, like you mentioned, if it was, 1,300 square foot, and now it's selling, it's 2,000 square foot, we can go back, reappraise it, and get it right going forward. But, you know, there's, as much as we look at, we don't find a lot. I mean, there may be a deck or some small additions that I don't think are significant value changes. So I don't see a lot year to year that we've just missed. Now, there are some homes that maybe someone pulled a permit, started building a house, they ran out of money and then sold it uncompleted, and the next person comes in and finishes it, and we might have got missed for you, but there's not a lot of that. There's not as much as you would think.
I think too, Mr. Guy, there's several avenues. The flyover is just one thing that's every so many years, and the GIS mapping. That's one avenue that could be found. I mean, when people go to sell a home, generally when it's reappraised and the square footage is different when it comes in, obviously there's a difference that's noted there. Again, you have sometimes it's a neighbor issue, or neighbors will tell on neighbors, or someone else will tip it off. Mr. Levister sometimes riding around catches things when they're out reviewing other properties and so forth. So I think we have multiple avenues, but without infringing on, civil rights, we have to kind of take it as we get it, and through the means we have legally. It's just up to citizens to follow the proper process, because they're going to have a lot of headache in the end if they don't follow the proper process.
Let me ask you one other question. It got said somewhere, I heard this just now. There are two particular industries that own thousands of acres of land, or several thousands of acres of land, each on them do. And nothing is being done with that land except growing pine trees. And one of them has a plan on it, but there's 1,000 acres or something like that of pine trees. Is that all in the fee and lieu?
Not knowing specifically the property, and again, this is generalization, and I'm thinking of a couple properties when I was at the Department of Revenue that are assessed in the fee and lieu. My interpretation is if you've got 1,000 acres of land and you build a plant, say you use 400 acres of it for the plant, if the property was identified as economic development property for the fee and lieu, I would say it all ought to be assessed in the fee and lieu and none of it as agriculture or, get the agriculture exemption. That's not a decision I get to make in the position I have now. But generally, I think if it's all identified as economic development property, I can tell you with specifics on a couple of properties. I just don't want to, talk out of school here because it's not my responsibility anymore. But when I was at the Department of Revenue, there's a couple of properties I know of, but it was all assessed in the fee and lieu.
I apologize, that air conditioning came on this hearing aids, hearing air conditioning. What did he say?
Okay. So basically, it sort of depends on each one. Generally, though, it's based on, the fee and lieu is based on the investment, based on, like, let's just use Gallo, for example. Gallo purchased tons of land. Their initial investment is what their fee and lieu was based on. If they expand on that property and create another investment, then it'll obviously
Well-
then be assessed differently as well.
Specifically on that property is 600 acres. When they came in and started building that plant, 300 acres they cleared off for the plant site. We appraised that here in Chester County until it went into the fee and lieu because it was in ag use. When they started moving dirt, we appraised it at market value. That picked up about $130,000 just for that change in
I
the
understand
assessment.
that with the plant,
Okay.
but what-
But the entire 600 acres on that property is assessed in the fee and lieu. It's, none of that's in ag use, to
So
my
it's
understanding.
all assessed in the
That's
field.
my understanding. I can double
It's
check,
not
but,
agriculture.
no.
No,
that's-
it goes
But I
to-
would double check, but that's my
And
understanding.
that may
Yes,
be
sir.
the best way to put it. It goes to market, that property goes to market value at that point.
Understand that? Or is that clear? Okay.
There is some additions that you can make that you don't have to have a permit. I believe, what, a 10 by 10 building? Is that what it is, Mr. Levels? I think we talked about this. But is it minimum?
So the minimum accessory structure that don't require permit is 200 square foot for anything residential and 120 square foot for anything commercial. But you still need to come and talk to us to get a zoning compliance so you'll know what your setbacks is from your property lines.
But you don't have to have a permit.
It does not require a permit.
But you need to be contacted.
Correct, sir.
All right. That's a little something that is insignificant, but it needs to be stated, I think.
These little small, I was in Atlanta not long ago, and they're building a bunch of little small homes right in the middle. I mean, they're not 200 or 300 square feet. Are those assessed? I mean, there are some in Chester County, if I understand it right.
Well, I don't know what that square footage would be, but whatever structure that you build for residential to occupy must meet the 2021 RC. It's gonna be kind of tough to get a 200 square foot home where the requirements of square footage minimum for your bathroom with your clearances, you gotta have a bedroom and a kitchen area and all that, and a living area. So it's gonna be kind of hard to make that requirement. That's why a lot of counties don't accept me. Plus, they're not anything certified as far as manufactured housing authority or meets any residential codes.
We used to go in a house somewhere in Richburg. There was a utility shed they bought, and they took two of them and cut a hole between both of them, and the kitchen and the bathroom was in one area, and the bedroom was in the other. Now, is that a house?
Well, you would have to disclose what that location is. You should have called us when you went out there to fight that fire.
He had a big damn gun.
Somebody's telling me you can order a house from Amazon, so
You can, yeah.
I saw that on TV.
I think what you're talking about, Ms. Age, are those tiny houses. They call them tiny houses.
Those tiny houses are a hot topic in the
Yeah.
assessment community because there are
Yeah.
some counties that have lots of those and just actually how we're supposed to assess them. Some of them, they roll them in on a trailer. Is it a mobile home? And some of them are site-built, and there's a lot of different things that fall under that description of tiny home, and we as the assessors statewide are
I had
talking
a-
about how that's supposed to be assessed.
I had a constituent that inquired about doing tiny homes in Great Falls for lodging. He was gonna build a bunch of them. He was trying to find a way to make them legal, and we never did find a way. But I think we're missing out by not having that option.
All righty, sounds good.
Any other
And
questions?
that- If
Okay,
you don't
thank
have any more questions for Mr. Anderson,
Okay, thank you for
we
your time.
appreciate the report, and thank you for being very informative on that. All right, well, I guess we'll take that for information only also. So moving along to new business, D under number 9, well, Chester County welcome sign proposal. Mr. Harold Hayes is the project manager on that. Mr. Hayes will come forward and present that.
Mr. Chairman, before he starts, can I just be clear to council, what we're looking for tonight is Mr. Hayes has some, our entrance signs into our county were battered and faded, and so we took on a project to redo all of the entrance signs into the county. So what Harold's going to present is going to be some options of what those could look like, and we want to offer council these to take a look at and maybe pick one that you like, we also want to offer to council to potentially maybe narrow the list down or add to the list if there's ideas. But to potentially put this out to, if council so chooses, to put it out for a public survey to let the public have some input in this. Well, we've tested out, David's tested out a way for us to put it on our website and for citizens to be able to vote on signs as well. But we're just giving you some ideas. We would like to move forward with this project this budget year. And so, Mr. Hayes is going to present just some of his creativeness.
Yes, even Mr. Chairman, members of the council, as Brian said, that we're looking to redesign the Welcome to Chester County signs. There are 11 of those in the county. And what you see here is one of them, and this one is located at on Saluda Street, coming from York County, entering to Chester County. And so that's the current sign, and we were looking to redesign it. And on the next couple of slides you see will be signs that have been superimposed in that same location to give you a general idea of what it would sort of look like. So the first one we have here is a Welcome to Chester County sign. We want it to be sort of clean and simple, not too busy. And with this concept, we were looking at adding the text "Welcome to Chester County" sign, and then showing the state of South Carolina, and then identifying where Chester County is within the state. As you see, it's sort of highlighted in blue. And then we was also looking at the colors. There's really no particular color for the county other than the seal. We have the black and gold, so I thought about the state flag, which is blue and white, and using those colors throughout the design options. That's number one. Number two is similar to number one, except for we highlight Chester County on the sign. Number three is where we incorporate the slogan, the county slogan, "Choose Chester County for business for life." We have that running through the state, and again, identifying where Chester County is. Here's another one where we just position the slogan to the bottom, and then we don't highlight Chester County. Sometimes, highlighting Chester County and not highlighting it kind of does something different. Again, here we're highlighting Chester County. And then on this one, we're looking to, we have the state, and then we have the county highlighted, but we also have the municipalities that make up the county. So you have Fort Lone, Chester, Lowry, Great Falls, and Richburg. And as you're going down the street, that's the imagery you'll see. This is the same one again, highlighting Chester County, whereas in the previous one, we didn't. Here, we kind of got a little playful with it, where similar to like when you go to the mall and you look at the map, you're trying to find a store and it says you're here. So I kind of took that same concept with this one and identified Chester County within the state, and then added the text, "You are here." On this one, we kind of paid homage to the old one, where we took the outline of Chester County and then we just layered it with the text of "Welcome to Chester County, choose Chester County for business, choose for life." And then on this one, we looked at taking the seal and making the seal a sign. And again, this will be at every entry point into Chester County. This seal, this sign would be sort of kind of embossed. It won't just be simply flat. It'd be like a concave shape, and then the elements on the sign would be sort of raised. But those are some of the options we have. There were many more, but those kind of made the top 11 list, I guess you would say. But we are also open to any ideas you guys may have. As we look to move forward and make Chester County more presentable to people that come into our county.
What what would be the average cost of these signs?
So I did a cost estimate on the signs, and we needed 11 signs. So with each 11 signs, you need 2 poles for each sign. So that's 22 poles and 11 signs. And that came out at roughly about $3,200.
$3,200. Why do we want to go with a sign like that versus something more expensive that would last longer?
Say again, sorry.
Why would we want to go with a sign like this? I've had this conversation with Mr. Hester, and he gave me a pretty good answer on it. And I don't know if he'd like to address this or not, but to use this sign here with around $30-some $100 to replace all 11 of them, I believe you said, versus putting something more permanent and a little bit more elaborate.
Well, all the signs will be basically, as far as the way they are installed, will be basically the same. This one is just round, other ones are rectilinear, but
I think what he's referring to is the material and the price that you have, because we did do an initial price on some of these, and so there's opportunity. You can spend as much as you want and buy as sturdy of signs as you want, but the fact remains they're on the side of a road.
right,
People shoot them, they throw beer bottles at them.
they crash
They
into
run
them,
over 'em.
you know, whatever.
The lawnmowers hit them, and they get torn down. And, we can pay $5,000, $8,000, $10,000 per sign, or we can do what generally the state and other roads do, and you put a sign up that may not be, it may last 3 years, but if his price was correct, that, let's say it was $3,500 for 11 signs, you can replace those pretty easily. And if the signs are all the same, it's not as hard. So yes, we can put pretty wooden poles out there painted and do other things as well. I think the goal is to put just a sign that at all 11 points are consistent with each other. That also helps. If the size and design are consistent, then if one's damaged, we could actually order 6, 7 extra, and always our roads department can go put those up. So I think that's the theory behind that.
And they're pretty sturdy. I looked at the specs on it, and it said that they were built for highway signs. So it meets the standard of DOT.
I kind of like the one up there and just put a camera up on top of it, and sheriff be able to see right on.
I like that.
The
That's
camera-
actually my
the
favorite
cameras
one.
played off the other
Put them
night.
at all
Just-
entrances.
That's actually my favorite one. I like that one the best.
Could you tell me what kind of material the number 11 is made out of? Because it's a different shape.
So this one, it could be made out of aluminum like the other ones, but I had envisioned it being of the material like the historic markers around the city. They're more of like a steel kind of big, heavy, something similar to that. Maybe not as heavy or thick, but something on that line.
I think that'd be a lot more durable. The signs, with the other signs, the rectangular signs, you say they would be metal?
Yes, they
Sheet
are.
metal with,
Yeah, the same as your regular highway signs.
what we've had previously is like particle board, painted particle board, and they don't stay up
No,
at
that'll
all.
fade.
The ones in Great Falls are always laying on the ground.
Right.
So I really like a more robust material for any of them, no matter what we use.
Right.
But I think as far as durability and lasting, and it's kind of eye-catching. I didn't like it to start with. I think I like number 11.
I'll disagree with Mr. Vaughn.
And I don't think 11 will fall under that same price either.
No,
Yeah, it
Correct?
probably
So
won't.
That'll be a little different, and
more-
that's okay, but
Yeah.
again,
I'd get a price on that.
yeah, I like the one, to say is number 8 there, that when you ride on the highways there, and you come across a sign there, I'm in this county, exactly where are you a lot of times,
Mm-hmm.
And I like the one where it shows you the outline of Chester County, and then also gives the other municipalities here in the
It gives
county.
everybody a shout out.
I think it's a little bit more informative and it tells you where you're at.
Right.
I would have to say that Barden, the round one, I think number 7's my favorite. The
7?
spacing is different on the word Lowry's between 7 and 8, and I think that number 7 looks better.
Yeah.
Well,
It looks less cluttered.
why do we have to use the same sign all the way through? Why we can't use different signs in different areas?
Well, it's
Like,
a
say, for
matter
instance-
of maintenance. So if that sign go out somewhere, we got it.
You got to know.
on deck. It's easy as opposed to having to go back and get another one for that particular sign. We just have a surplus of them and, change them out.
He originally had some signs that were kind of specific to areas, and they
Yeah.
had color in them and so forth, but really the issue comes there is
The
maintenance
maintenance.
and, having to put them up when they're torn down.
Uniform, consistent
Yeah.
with where you replace, you have the same sign to replace.
Right,
one.
right. But one of the concepts we had was where we had scenery, that it was a scene in Chester County. Like, for example, I think it was out at Elephant Lake, and I had Welcome to Chester County. And that scene was chosen because if you go down this road, you could run into that actual scene. Or if you had something out coming from Lancaster into Chester County somewhere, something scenic was that imagery. But then again, we looked at it as from a cost standpoint, it'd be a little more maintenance to maintain that.
There's so many other ways to publicize the attractions.
Right, right.
Of Chester County. Spending a fortune on the signs might not be a wise thing.
And this really all started from damaged and torn down signs, and just taking a look at those, and a lot of them were really faded, so just an attempt to upgrade those signs all the way throughout, our county.
I like 8 and 11.
If you're looking at 8, put Fort Long on the right-hand side, and put Lowry's, and Chester on the left hand. That's western Chester County.
Yeah, that makes sense as kind of location wise.
Falls in eastern county.
Yeah.
Chester and Lowry's in west.
You have to put Larry's on the top.
But one of the hardest things about this was I couldn't find colors in it, so I chose the blue and white. Then I didn't like it because it kind of sort of resembled something cowboyish.
Yeah, okay.
And the Cowboys is
That's what we need to do.
I'll say,
Last year.
online voting must have started because my phone's starting to blow up over here where people, can I vote? Can I vote? And they're sending me their vote. I'm not going to tell you guys what they're voting on.
Did you say you was gonna put this on the website?
We can, that's
Yeah.
council's choice. We just wanted to present it, and listen, you can take it home, you can draw, you can doodle, you can send Harold as many emails as you want of,
right.
and refine the ideas, either what we have, or if you have something else. We don't want to drag this process out too much.
Yeah.
If council chooses, and you tell us, if you're all in agreement and you want us to put it on our website, we'll send it out tomorrow on our website.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I think that's something to
Get the
make
community
the
involved.
citizens feel like they're actually involved in something that, instead of us making that decision, if we can make that possible, my personal opinion is, let the citizens decide.
Right.
If we can do that, let them decide.
So I think that would be something for you guys to take to a motion and a vote here, and to allow us to take a citizen survey regarding the signs based on the signs we currently have. Yes, sir, Mr. Wilson.
Not to overcomplicate this, but are we gonna try to narrow it down some? And
Yes,
the
I was
se- and
thinking,
the-
we
the se-
could let you guys kind of narrow it down to maybe 4 or 5, and then let the community
That
vote
works.
from that point.
Now you guys are going to have to figure out how to narrow it to 4 or 5. That's the
Do
overcomplicate.
what I say.
Won't you just take one sign like "Welcome to Chester County"? You coming in at York County, put Lowry's in there. You come
Yeah.
in Great Fall, put Great Fall.
I had
on
that
there.
concept as well.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the best way to do it, cause Lowry's gonna be the first time you come in off of 321, 97, and then you got number 9. Fort Long gonna be the first one you come to, and then Richburg. That's
But
what
then I thought about that, and I have a concept for that where it was just instead of having the state, it was the county shape, and then it had, Lowry's or Great Falls in it. But the thing about it was sometimes when you come into the county, you're not necessarily in one of those,
That's right.
one of those areas. Like when you come in, like coming down here, down Salute, I think you like in Lewis turnout or
72 back toward Rock Hill back this way.
72, you be.
yeah, going down Saluda, down 72, going towards Chester.
So you're not really in the municipality.
Yeah. So then that kind of, that's why I didn't put that one up there. But I thought about that one as well. Yeah,
And
that's
then
a good
then
idea.
if you, like you said, you want to have them on hand in case one gets torn up, you can put it right back.
Right,
Yeah, I
right,
think- I
right.
think
Again, that's a
consistency would be the
maintenance.
best.
Yeah.
They're gonna get blown up.
Well, for all intensive purposes, my vote is 8 and 11. So,
You going to vote one?
That's right, you only got one vote. You only got one vote, man.
8, I guess. I guess I'll go
All
with
right.
8.
Well,
Any further discussion on that? So I think.
well, let's make sure we got clear direction if we want to narrow it down or if we want to put all these out. I think the goal is to narrow it down. Let me ask you, I'll help narrow this down. I think 11 is a definite go on the survey because that is one of the most distinct. We can all,
Yeah.
this is one of those times where unanimous consent, nobody shakes their head this way, then we can maybe agree on that. Or you guys agree on it? And
I
then
like
I
11.
don't like it.
I think that
We got one.
the other thing, if anybody thinks 10 should be on there, that's a very unique one as well. I'm seeing a lot of,
Crazy about that.
I'll go with number 7.
7.
okay?
I'll go with number 7.
So,
You got them ladies out there, they be looking, they like nice things.
so I think, okay, so now when we go to these other ones, here's a quick question for you. When you're looking at them, you got one, they're the same. Obviously, we know we need to redo some cities or municipalities. The white backing or the blue, the straight blue?
Yeah.
That'll eliminate several of them.
Yeah, that's pretty much the concept. You highlight Chester County or you don't highlight Chester
Yeah,
County.
4, you're talking about using 4?
Well, I'm just talking about whether you want to use the white backing on Chester County or the solid blue on Chester County. That way you can really cut it in half because they're all either one or the
Yeah,
other.
either
I
or.
think the
I would
white
say
is way
4.
more visible
The white
if you're driving down the road at night.
Yeah.
back.
All right,
A
Mr.
4,
Agee, we've got 4 there.
4, 6, and 7.
Mr. Killian,
Yeah.
you like that?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think the easiest thing for us to do at that point would be to take 2, 4, 6, 8, and 11.
All right.
So between 2 and 4, can we knock one of those out?
Yeah.
Hold on, let me write
Yeah.
it. No, 2, 4,
I don't like
6.
I'm
8.
sorry, 4 and 6. Can we knock out either 4 or 6 since they're very similar? I would say that 6 looks better than 4.
Okay, yeah. 6 has the slogan at the bottom.
Whereas-
4 has it running
Yeah,
through
it has
the
it
state.
in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with knocking out 4.
I agree.
All right, so now, any other council comments on that? Anybody?
You said 8, right?
All right,
We've got 8. I've
All
got
odd
2.
numbers pretty much,
I think 8.
except for,
Eight.
I've got
No.
2, 6,
4.
8, and 11 currently.
All right. All right, any more comments from council on this? No. Do you have a motion to allow Mr. Hester to proceed with putting this on the web and getting citizens' comments, and we'll choose from that on 2, 6, 8, and 11?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second. Got a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
So is this going to be decided by,
We'll decide, but we'll hit.
I hear you. So by majority or by just whoever has the most percentage?
I'm going to present council with the results of the citizen survey at the next meeting.
Gotcha,
So citizens have until then.
gotcha.
And you guys can make your decision if you want to go with the citizens' choice or not.
All right, any further comment? All right, we got a motion. Do we have a motion and a second yet?
Yeah.
All right, we got that. All in favor, raise your right hand and say aye. Aye. Give Mr. Hester the authority to go ahead and proceed with the survey and bring it back before council.
And we'll push this on Facebook and our website. We'll get the word out to try to get as many votes as we can. We'll give you total number of votes and where those fell. Thank you.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hayes, on that. All right. Moving right along, on the number 10, boards and commissions, we don't have any of that. And moving along to executive session. I'll need a motion on executive session to discuss matters relating to proposed locations, expansion, or the provision of service, encouraging locations or expansions of industry or other business in the area served by the public body. Project 2410, and also the discussion of personnel matters regarding economic development. I need a motion to go into executive session to discuss those matters.
Mr. Chairman, can I just correct B? That should be action taken regarding, I'm sorry, description. I apologize, you read it correctly. I was reading the wrong one. My apologies, sir. I just want to make sure we stated the right thing.
All right. Your apologies accepted, sir. All right. Need a motion on that?
I'll make a motion that we go into executive session.
All right. Need a second? Second. Got a motion second. All in favor,